Welcome to Give Me Hope with Johanna, a place where real stories meet real hope. I'm your host, Johanna Vendel, a published author, speaker, and the CEO and founder of the prestigious International Hope Book Awards. On this podcast, we share powerful stories of faith, resilience, and transformation, conversations with authors, survivors, and changemakers who turned life's hardest moments into purpose. If you're searching for encouragement, healing, or a reminder that your story still matters, then you're in the right place. Press that subscribe button now and don't miss a story. So now, let's welcome your host, Johanna Vendel.
Welcome to Give Me Hope with Johanna, where real stories becomes the reminder that even our deepest pain can be the transportation for our purpose. Today, I have the privilege to welcome an extraordinary woman whose story is about far more than surviving. Jennifer is going to take us into a childhood shaped by fear and control, silence, and conditional approval, and generational patterns that will follow her into her adulthood. We will talk about this woman, how she emerged from it. Let's introduce Jennifer so that we can hear more about her story.
Hi, Joanna. Good morning.
Good morning, Jennifer, and welcome to Give Me Hope with Johanna.
I am very excited to be here with you today.
I am sorry for how my voice is sounding today. I had a little bit of laryngitis this last week, literally no voice, but at least it's coming back now, and I won't be speaking a lot. Jennifer will tell you about her story, but we will go into the first question. Would you like to maybe just introduce yourself first before we go into your story?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Jennifer Montiel. I am the founder and author of Monarch Story House. I decided to create my company to, I create stories of healing and hope. And a little bit about my background. I come from, first of all, my background, I do come from a domestic family where I did experience some trauma. However, my negatives, I made them a positive. I've served in law enforcement since 2011. April, I decided to turn in my badge to make my mission bigger and to focus on myself and in sharing my stories. I feel like I have a different mission now. I still want to serve my community and the public throughout my work, but now I'm doing it throughout my books. That's just a little bit about me. I am married. I have 3 kids, and hopefully next month I should start school. I'm going back. I'm trying to finish my PhD.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Jennifer, that is incredible that you are doing so much after everything that happened to you in your life and your life story. Would you like to tell us more about your book?
Yes. So I wrote Raised by Silence, which is this book right here. This was one of my first books that I wrote, but I was very scared to publish it because I was law enforcement. Even though I've been very transparent with the cases, because I was a domestic violence and a sexual assault investigator. But throughout the cases that I worked, I don't want to make my story public because I fear that it would contradict or damage my work in some way. And because I was in public service, I was very cautious in what I said and what I posted. But that's why this book was never originally published until I finally decided to go ahead and publish it. I feel that my story could help other people heal from their wounds and or if they have a similar situation, because all stories are different, but I feel like if they have a similar situation, it could help us somehow. And that a lot of the cases that I work had a similar interest, from the aggressor to the abuser. It was always something in similarity. My background being that I am Hispanic, my parents are from Mexico. So I decided to share my story because that's something I've noticed in the Hispanic communities. A lot of things are kept in silence. Nobody wants to talk about it. You're perfect from the outside. You look great on social media, and nobody wants to speak the truth. Now everybody lives in a virtual reality. That's what I feel that they're living in. So I decided to create Race by Silence. I created it in English and Spanish. I also talk. It's like a dual story. So I talk about my surviving my domestic violence with my previous partners, and with my father as well. You know, he was abusive, and then I also talk about surviving my parents because I make it very clear that my mother was very young when she married my dad. She was 15, and my dad was 28 at the age. So he was, he was very much older than her. But I talk about the way that, the person is being technically made that way. Nobody's born narcissistic. Nobody's born saying, "Oh, I'm going to hurt this person." It depends the background, the parents, and it's just a cycle. So what I decided to do with this book, I put it all together, but it's not just a story. Halfway through the book, what I do, I stop my story after I share it, and then the other half is healing. And I have tools for healing. I have resources, ways you could reach me if you need to get a hold of me, if you have any questions. I love to be very transparent with my readers based on my background. Like I tell them, if you need somebody to talk to, if there's anything I could help with, I'll help you whatever I can, except I don't give out legal advice because I am not a lawyer. But I do have my law enforcement experience as far as some cases that I work. I have had some people that have actually called me and thanked me. They're like, "Hey, Jen, thank you for helping me." And some of my cases that I work are in the book. Of course, I did change names, but everything that I write about is 100% true, based on my experience. And that's not just this book itself. Is all the books. That's the mission behind Monarch Story House. Like they're stories for healing. Like I want to help people heal. Like if my story doesn't help you, maybe another story will. Or if I don't have a story that could help you, maybe I know an author or somebody else that could help you in the situation, that heal the situation that you're going through.
That is interesting. So Monarch, is that a published house in Mexico, or is it your own business?
No, it's my own business. We are already in the process of, taking it to Mexico. I know I did do the books worldwide distribution. As a matter of fact, the plushies are coming up from Mexico next week. I'll share that
Oh,
later.
wow.
Yeah, but no, it's actually my business. I decided to create it because when I started, it was just one book. Honestly, I didn't thought, but I was like, you know what? I have all the stories saved. Let's just get them together, get them out there. So I decided to create Monarch Story House to put all. It's like an umbrella. All the books go under there, and each line to my butterfly has different stories. Like I have my healing, my kids, my romance, a little bit of everything in there. Yes, and hopefully
Yes.
in October for my sorry to cut you off. In October for my spooky readers, I'm gonna have now we're gonna have the horror collection. So I have a new writer.
Wow, that is incredible that you are actually spreading your wings to all of those different kind of stories as well, like horror and things like that. But before we get into your other stories and your your books that you have written also, if you can tell us more about how did it happen when you started to say, this is it?
Right, that with the first three, they were my abusive, and each marriage had an abuse in some way. My fourth one, he's actually very supportive. He's the one that has helped me transform into who I am. But everything started first, like with the first marriage, it was kind of like a little. It was like how should I call it? It was like a little ladder that I had to climb little by little. So with the first marriage, since I was actually sold for my first marriage. I was 16. So one day my dad got home and he was like, "Hey, you're getting married tomorrow," and that's actually in my book. And I didn't know who it was. It was his boss. So I'm 60 years old. Just I in my household, you did what you were told. So that's how it was. If they tell you you jump, and we show respect. That's how it was. But that when my dad got home, I was like, okay, dad, that's fine. So I got married, and I was in the courthouse, and I'm just standing there, and I'm looking at the judge, and I'm like, hello, lady, like, do you not see this? Like, so my dad actually was the one that signed for me to marry him. So I remained in that marriage for about 3 years. But what really got to me was, like, I would what he told me. He's like, I told him, I was like, hey, I want to do something with my life. But they had money, they came from a successful background and everything. And he was like, okay. He's like, however, law enforcement was out of the picture. Anything that required me carrying guns or anything like that, the only option I had was either being a teacher or a nurse. And that was not me. That's not my passion. So what really got to me one day when he told me, he was like, so if we ever have kids and you decide to leave, your kids, like our babies, are going to be shipped overseas to my mother. You cannot take them. And I was like, but they're my babies if we have any. And he was like, no, they're mine to keep. And I was like, because the way he saw me, I was just property. He, his background, he was actually from Jordan. So his background, they were just property. Females, that's how they see them. They're property. Like, they order their wives. And he showed me how they do it. And I was like, so you don't fall in love, you don't go date. And he was like, no. He goes, I ordered you, your property. And that's when it hit me the first one. I was like, okay, wait a minute. No, I'm a human being. So when I turned 18, that's when I filed for my first divorce. And then my second marriage, he was from the military, but at first he was charming. He proposed everything. I really didn't know him much because my mom kind of set up this marriage. She actually, she's what you call a healer. So she reads cards, cleansings, spiritual cleansings. So that was one of her customers, and I only knew the guy 28 days, and she was like, "Hey, your dad's gonna die. He has a heart condition, and his dream is to see his daughter married through the church, in a white wedding gown. The tradition. That's your father's dream." And I was like, "Okay." And my dad's died. She's like, "Yes, he's died." I was like, "Okay." So he proposed like a gentleman. He came, and he proposed to my in front of my dad, and my dad was so, like, after the proposal, I didn't know absolutely nothing what happened. Him and my dad, they planned the hall, the wedding dress. Like, I have tattoos. I had to wear long sleeves, and there I go again. So what I've noticed with him, it was great in the beginning, but then he started really reading the mileage in my car, feeling the hood of my car. It got to the point where he got a job where I worked, and it was very disturbing because you live with the man and you have to work with him. It was and then bank account. I didn't know anything about bank accounts, and what really really got to me in for me to ending that marriage was the fact that he one day he dragged me down the hall and he started getting violent. So that's where I saw myself in my mother's eyes, and I was like, okay, this has to stop now. I am not going to be like my mother. And that's something that I've told my mother because unfortunately she was in her relationship for 25 years. And like I told her, Mom, you kept the 25-year marriage because you were more worried about what are people going to say, the image, but yet you didn't care about the trauma that you caused me and my brother. And it really took us many years of healing and therapy just for us to get where we are. And like as of now, like even after her divorce, I had to get her through therapy because she didn't even know. She was still like in that mentality that, hey, I messed up, I failed. And I was like, no, Mom, we're human, we're allowed to heal, and it's not healthy to be in a relationship. So that was pretty much marriage 1 and 2. Now the third, what really got to, which that's actually the father of my kids. Now we have a great relationship. But it was that his drinking. I'm sorry, his drinking. That's what ended up the marriage. And in that time, that's when I had started the police academy, and I was like, how am I going to go lead by example and try to be how am I going to try to help people if I can even help myself in my own households? I need to set the example. So me and him, we came to an agreement. We ended the marriage in good terms, and he's still there. He became friends with me to support the kids, but it's just me saying no. That's what really got me through all this, because I don't want it to be like my mom. And like I told her, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to put you down or compare you. I just don't want to be like you. 25 years in a relationship. Now she's 56, and she's like, I wish I would have left. I would have, stopped all the harm and everything you guys went through. But unfortunately, some people they don't know. They're just raised in a certain way, and that's what I try to do. I try to spread awareness, because I've spoken to females that they're abusive relationships, or some that I even had calls for service when they're like, "Oh my goodness, I want to kill myself. I love this man. I can't live without him." And I'm like, "No, sweetie. Yes, yes, you can. Yes, we could heal." And you just need the proper support, and that's what I try to do. Even with every book I write, hey, here are resources. Here's my number. Call me. This is my story. I like to be very transparent. I know it took a lot for me to put it out there, especially because it was so personal. And I also shared about my sexual abuse in the story as well. And because a lot of family members stopped talking to me, they were upset, because it's like the dollhouse.
Because
That's how I
when you start to talk about the truth,
exactly.
people don't want to know about it because it's family and they want to keep the family name clear. But if one doesn't stand up and speak about it, that is when it just gets worse and worse. And that is what impressed me so much about you, how you are now that example for other women, and you literally speak about it.
Yes, no, and no, it takes a lot to get to a certain space where you could speak about it and it doesn't affect you anymore. And that's why I tell a lot of women that I speak with, I'm like, look, it took me a lot to get here. I'm not gonna lie to you. I did live under a rock. I am not perfect, and I did go through a lot. That's why it got to a point where I will hide my tattoos and my scars. But I am actually proud of everything I've been through, because like what I do now, all my negatives, they're positives. I try to learn a lesson from everything that I've been through. And like what I did with my books, that's what I said. I'm breaking the cycle no more. My daughter is not going to go through what I went through. My sons don't go through what I go through. So that's one of my biggest things. Like my daughter is a completely new generation. Like me, for example, I broke the cycle with my mom because I was supposed to take over her spiritual healing, and I was next in line. Since I was 11, they were teaching me how to do all these rituals and things like that, because that was going to be my life. I wasn't supposed to have a degree. I wasn't supposed to. So I was like, no, I love school. So that's what I decided to go back and pursue my education and better myself. And when I got into law enforcement, even my dad, he stopped talking to me for 5 years because he never supported law enforcement, and he had no respect for me as a female in law enforcement. But that's what I tell a lot of people. Even though we're females and we're law enforcement, they're a huge asset in law enforcement. Like we need females, and so it's been a little journey. I am very open. I tell everybody I'm very transparent now, especially now that since April my badge is resting. So my goal is eventually, maybe one day when I'm way older, I'll go back, because I kept my peace officer license. I'm a master peace officer, so I just it's there safe for now. And right now, I feel like I have a different journey. Like I feel God has put me in a different path for now.
He definitely has a purpose for you in your life with your
Hmm.
story. And that is why I always say, stories are so important and we have to share our stories because we sometimes think that things only happen to me. You know, when you are in that situation, you feel that it has only happened to me. But then when you start to sit back and look at the world and start to open your ears to other people's stories, that's when you realize that you are not alone and what God has in store for you with your story. I see that you're still going to touch so many people's hearts because I think if a woman specifically must read your book, if she does not find strength after reading your book, then I don't know if she wants to get out of what she is in, you know. If you can tell us more about your other books as well, is it incorporated with your story also, or is it different?
Well, the newest release that I have, actually, I'm going to show it to you. It's beautiful. It just released July 7, which is this book right here, and it's called Strong Woman Breakthrough. So,
I
this book,
saw that.
oh my goodness, this book actually won an award before it was even published. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, so my goal with each book, like I said, is to share stories of real life people and healing and tools and everything they need. So in this book, the Strong Woman one, I have six women who share their story, and they're all different statuses. You're talking about the lady that had money, the one, the housewife, the professional worker. So there's like there's a woman, each different woman in there that we could identify ourselves with. So I that's what I try to do as a female. I mean, me, once upon a time I wear the uniform. Now I'm technically what you consider a housewife and an author. So it's just like us women out there, we all have different hats we wear. So when I wrote this book, it was with the purpose of, hey, if you don't identify yourself with this female, maybe you could identify yourself with this one. But it's all beautiful stories, and it also has tools of how not to lose ourselves as women, because we are too busy caring for other people that sometimes we forget to care about ourselves. So that's that book. But yeah, every book is different. For example, like this one, this is the one we're competing in October, so hopefully we win Author of the Year, Twin Flames Under the Moon. This is it is a love story, but it also speaks about unbreakable bonds. Or, sometimes when people are like, oh, I want to be with this person, and even though you're hurting yourself, they don't want to let go. So it teaches a lesson, and it gives you an option if you want to keep holding on to it, or you want to let go, and what can you get out of it. But yeah, like all my books, even my children's stories, that's the goal, to teach something different. Now, like for my children's stories, I think it's so cute because I have what I call my little readers. So I actually my better readers are kids. I have them read the books, and they tell me and they criticize me what they like and they don't like. So the book doesn't get published unless the little ones approve it. But yeah, that's just a little bit
That's
about the
incredible.
books. But the one for by Silence, I think that's a very, very powerful book. Even when I go advocate for females, there's some that can't afford it, and I actually, honestly, I've given more books that I've sold, because I don't feel, in my opinion, like if you can't afford the book and you really need it, I'm gonna give it to you. Because if this book
Definitely.
helps you, one day you could share it with somebody else, and it might help somebody else. So that's how
Yes,
I see it.
definitely. I also do again. So, Jennifer, if you can tell us more about the awards that you won, um, how let's ask this question quickly. When did you start writing? What year? Then your first book, what the name is of your first book, and did you win an award of with that?
It, um, so I started writing. It's since I was younger. When I started, going through my experiences little by little, I would just take a note of it. But I officially never thought of putting it into a book. It was more like a journaling. And when I finally decided to go public, publishing wise, it was October 2025, I believe. Yes. So, no, I'm sorry. It was last year, October. Yes. So,
25.
yes, 25. So, yeah, we shouldn't, hopefully this year it'll be our anniversary, um, our first year anniversary. But all the books are already out there. And, but the stories have been just like locked up in a little box, and they finally got released.
And Raised by Silence, is that your very first book?
Yes, that was actually my very, very first book, Raised by Silence. And then the second one that I wrote was Twin Flames Under the Moon. But Twin Flames, it's weird because Twin Flames was my actually first published novel. So with Twin Flames, now it has expanded over 100 pages because people like it so much that I had to go back and expand it. They were like, you can't leave us like this. And what I like about Twin Flames, now it became a series. So the new book, the new Twin Flames, is the a little bit about the new book. It's going to be actually with in Alaska background. So this Twin Flames is in a small Texas town, and then the new one's gonna be in Alaska. But now it's gonna be like a little series, kind of like Twilight. You know how they have each one has a different book. Well, this one's gonna be Twin Flames, but it's different love stories, different backgrounds.
That sounds really interesting, and it seems like I still have quite a few more books to read.
Yes, yes, you do. Yes, no, but
And
no, definitely.
I
If
believe that you won. I believe that you won a few awards already.
yes, yes. So the Adventures of Michael and Chepe, El Día de los Muertos, it won with the International Book Awards. It won an award with them, and then we have Raised by Silence. It won an award with with your company, and then Strong Woman Breaks Two. It won an award with ACCI.
Oh
So
wow! So
yes.
you've won 3 awards this year already.
Yes, yes, and hopefully we, we're still hoping for the Author of the Year awards. We'll see how that goes in October. So yes,
Yes. Um, and you are a finalist at 2 book awards for Author of the Year.
yes, ma'am. For the Twin Flames, it's with the International Impact Book Awards, and Raised by Silence with your company.
The prestigious International Hope Book Awards.
Yes,
That's
yes,
incredible. Wow. It is always so interesting to see how someone was so broken and how you got up and you wrote these books. And just look at you today, Jennifer. You are such a strong woman. I can just see it in you, and the way you speak and the way I can just hear you want to help women. It is incredible to hear this and to see how someone can get up from the ground and stand again and walk and be firm in what you want in life. If
yes.
you can tell the woman out there that is abused and that's going through generational trauma, what can you tell them today to inspire them?
Well, the first thing I would tell them is please don't give up. Just keep fighting, and you are worth more and more much than that. You could be the first one to break the cycle. You could be the first one to change your future generations to come. That would be something that I would tell them. And whatever they do, don't lose faith. I know faith got me through everything, and it keeps helping me. Whenever you feel the down is where you feel when you're in a dark space, just pray and trust me. God will always put an angel in your path to help me. Something I do want to share about myself when I was younger, of course, because I did go through my trauma, but then I have a background of I did go through a little bit of some addiction. It got to the point where I was picking up scrap from the street to be able to buy food or whatever I needed. So I have been up and down the bad roads, and I have experienced some negative stuff. But I have always told people, don't lose hope. And what I do, I try to make every negative, like I said, a positive. A lot of people, what I've noticed, if something negative happens to them, they want to stay in that negative space. But instead, what you have to do is get up and fight. There's always going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. You know how people say, oh, the grass is greener on the other side. Well, guess what? Yes, it is. If you keep fighting, yes. If you stay in the situation you're in, you're never going to find out how good the other side is if you don't keep pushing yourself through it. And then again, a lot of people that I've noticed when I worked some cases, they were scared because they didn't have anybody to go to. Now, if you don't have anybody to go to, that's why I have my door open for females. Like, hey, you want to talk? You don't have to give me your name. You don't have to give me your details. there I am very open on social media, so I love to advocate for my females, for human trafficking victims, sexual survivors, autism. Anybody that I could help in some way. Like for example, like autism, my baby has autism, and that became a complete different world to me as a parent. It's I'm not gonna lie to you. There's times that I have sit there and cry, and my baby doesn't have his autism. Had some other children have it as high with level, but I've also noticed that some moms don't have anybody to go through. Like I've been monitoring the groups, and it's just the things that they go through. But that's why it always helps to have somebody there. And I love offering myself to people like, hey, if I could help you, even if you just talk to somebody, it will help you get out of whatever situation you're in. There's always good to have that extra someone.
Definitely, definitely. I also try to be there for women if they um, have lost people in their lives, because I'm a grief advocate again, and going through so much grief and loss and learning to live without your loved ones. That's one of the most difficult thing to do in life, because you can't just pick the phone up and call them because they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do lose your entire family, like I have, it is difficult. So I'm always open to listen to people who has lost someone. And even if you have just lost one person, you know, it's always nice to have that someone to come to and speak about your grief or your struggles or your addictions or um, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And to have people like you and I in this world, it's already two people making a difference. And that
Exactly.
is amazing, because God always say it only takes one person at a time, to make a difference.
Yes, and you know what? It's very beautiful what you're doing because a lot of people are scared to talk about it or when they lose somebody, and that's another topic that like some people that I've spoken to about, like even in my family, because I actually bought my mausoleums. So a funny story. It was Christmas Eve, and I took the kids over to the like they thought we bought a new house. I told them, hey, we got a new house. So I drove them down to the cemetery, and they were like, "What is this, Mom?" I was like, "We have a mausoleum." They're like, "What is going on?" I'm like, "Sweetie, honestly, this is our real home. Like when we pass, we have to be prepared." So that's another thing. I'm very big with preparedness and talking about death
Mm.
and grieving and all that because it's really hard. A lot of people don't know how to deal with grief. I have met a few that unfortunately they're not here anymore because they don't know how to deal with grief. And having people like you, it's just so beautiful because not many people want to touch that. They think that we're weird because we want to talk about it, or they don't want to plan ahead, or they don't even know how to process it. But it's just beautiful, just hearing that from you. That like I'm over here working on one subject, like one like I got the women team going out over here with the domestic violence, and then I have you for the group. So, girl, if I definitely know somebody that needs some help, I will send them your way. But like, I just
Yes,
been in love
yes.
with your mission. I'm just one of your biggest fans.
Oh, that is amazing to hear. At least it makes a person feel like you're doing something right, and it will give me more courage to continue with what I am doing and what I'm still going to do, because I'm only starting.
Yes, and I think you're gonna give what you're doing. I think it's gonna be amazing. Like I love the mission. Like when I first logged in to read about your website, I thought it was beautiful. And I don't want it to be like the weird lady sending you messages on Facebook because I was like, oh my goodness, I love this. And when I won an award and when I got the trophy, oh my goodness, I was crying. I don't know if you saw the video I posted on social media. Like I want to cry again. but
No, I didn't. I
yes,
must
like
actually go have a look, because I was wondering, because I did not see a photo of the trophy yet.
it's all over TikTok. I'll send you the video. But oh my goodness, it was like I have never seen a trophy so beautiful, and it was just so touching to know that I was like, there's people out there that care, and then I fell in love with everything you do. It's beautiful. Like you have
You,
hope, and you give a lot of authors just we have light, because a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to read your book, or it's a hope book, or it's a religion book, who cares? No, yes, you should care, because this is something very powerful, like even sharing your story, a memoir, your story might change somebody else's life. And that's what I've noticed. Like a lot of people that share their stories, it might not reflect with your life, but it might reflect with somebody else's. You could help them change your life by just sharing your story. So you
yes.
never know.
I
But
always say, I always say, when people have lost one person, it is very difficult to survive that loss. And you sometimes think, how am I going to live without this person in my life? You know, and it is big. I mean, if you have lost someone, you will know that emptiness that you are carrying inside you. You'll know that feeling. And then you lose another one and another one.
mm,
And then you lose six people. My whole direct family, I've lost. And you think to yourself, now you've lost this one person and the other person. Each of them meant different things in your life. And
mhm.
then when you lose another one, it's already four and five, and then it's six people. And eventually you're the only one standing from seven people in your household. And you think to yourself, is God punishing me? You know, is He punishing me to take away my entire family? No, God will not punish you like that. I always say it's not God punishing you when He takes people away out of your life. It's God that walks with you and
Mhm.
hold your hand through the time that you feel that you cannot go on anymore. And
Yes.
that is what God does. He is there for you and He makes you heal and He makes you go on and He makes you strong enough to speak about death again and to speak about loved ones that you've lost without crying anymore. Because life is good. If you stand back and look at all the blessings that God has blessed you with, you
Hmm.
look at your children, you look at your life, you're still alive. You have a lot to offer. That is what we must be grateful for, is that we have what we have. God has only borrowed the people in our lives. Every single person have a mission. Every
Hmm.
single person has a reason for you to be in this world, to touch someone's life and to make memories. And do you think that the loved ones that you have lost would want you to cry about them all the time? No, because that's the circle of life. And as soon as one start to realize that you can go on after losing people in your life and after things has happened to you, like for instance, you, Jennifer,
Hmm.
so many things have happened to you. You could have given up long ago, but you didn't. Why didn't you? Because you have children. Your children keeps you strong. Your children makes you feel like, I want to be strong. I want to be there for my children. And that's your very first step, is to look at what your purpose is in life. And when you find what your purpose is in life, then you walk with God. And He will take you and He will make you strong through everything that you put your mind to. So that's just a little bit of how
No,
I became strong in myself, because without God, I would not be able to do this.
no, it's wow, Johanna. I I'm speechless, because it's a lot to take in. Like me, I mean, I'm definitely definitely it's a lot to take in. Like for example, me, when I'm sorry, it's I just want to give you a hug, Joanna. You're a warrior. I I mean, oh my goodness. But yes, God gave all of us a mission. Like for example, with me, I didn't used to believe in God, because my mom spiritual world, and my husband, the one Jesus, he's the one that got me into believing into God. I changed the way I saw everything because I used to be a very arrogant officer. I used to be very cocky back then, like, oh, I have the highest arrest, because I was a female growing up, working in the men's field. So I always try to push myself to be out there. And I did a great job, but until I was taught a lesson. I remember, I'm never gonna forget. I arrested this guy, and the guy that I arrested, he got his blood all over my hands, and the man eventually ended up getting deported. Was somehow in between. I ended up getting severe psoriasis. It took me 10 doctors. Nobody could find out what was wrong with me. Test after test after test. Nobody knew what was wrong. But apparently he was a witch doctor. He was chanting all the way to over there. And he told me, he was like, you're arrogant and you will regret this. And this will be a lesson you will learn. And I was like, whatever, dude. So I put in, get rid of him. Bye. So my mom told me, she was like, you need to apologize. I was like, no, I don't believe in that, blah, blah, blah. I was very arrogant. And I'm not gonna lie to you, my hands shut down. Like I think you can still see it a little bit right here. I still suffer with the severe psoriasis all over my hands, my head, my feet. So it got too bad to the point where I was actually in a wheelchair. I couldn't walk anymore. I was 220 pounds. It was like, and then from there it went to cervical cancer and then 5 surgeries later. So yes, trust me, I went through all of that, and I was still arrogant. I was like, no, no, no. My husband told me, he was like, you know what, God is showing you something, and and the day I lost my husband, because my husband actually died in a motorcycle accident, and they brought him back. So the day I lost them, I've never felt that pain. It was so hard. It dropped me to the ground. And I asked God, I was like, God, please don't let him go. Bring him. I need him. And just a little bit that I saw his chest rise, that was enough for them to start the resuscitation. And when I went to the hospital, what helped me was that, at the time I was still an officer. So I went in there in the back, and I was seeing, and they were letting him already expire. That's what they call it when they're just letting them go. And that's what they told me. They were like, oh, we're already letting him expire because he's not going to make it. There's no chance in us doing a blood transfusion and all that. And like the doctor told me, I don't guarantee anything. If he makes it tomorrow, he makes it. And that's where I found prayer. I just started praying, and when I finally got him back, he became a Christian, and I changed the way I see things now. When the mission that I am on, I always tell everybody, oh, God's doing this for a reason. I'm doing this. Not long ago, they offered me, since I left since April to now, I probably have 11 job offering to go back to law enforcement. And I try to go back. I'm not gonna lie to you. Last week I dropped off my application. All my hands shut down. It was crazy. Like I told my husband, oh my goodness, look at this. It's a sign. Like none of my hands were working. And I called back the chief, and I was like, I'm sorry, chief. I'm not going to put my pride out there because I want to wear the uniform. I'm not going to take the job. Sorry. So I'm just going to stay in my book journey and the mission that I'm on. And that's it. That's what I tell everybody. God put me on this mission for a reason. But the one that really pushed me to it was my son, Michael. Because the books originally, the cartoon book started because of him, and then he gave me the strength to put out there the real life stories.
That is incredible. You have an incredible story, and I think that God is still going to use you in many ways. And for you, this is also just starting. I really want to thank you, Jennifer, for coming to tell your story here today. Is there any last words that you would like to leave our viewers with?
Yes. I would love it if you guys want to follow me. Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. I am Jennifer Montiel with Monarch Story House. And if you ever have a need that you need to talk to somebody, you want to reach out, you have questions, my page is open to anybody. And don't ever stop reading and learning.
Good. I will also have Jennifer's details in the description below the video, so you can just go click on any of her links if you want to go and read her story. And I do suggest you go and read her story. Jennifer, thank you so much for being
Thank you,
on the
Joanne.
podcast today. And we will be in touch soon. And hopefully, I'll get to meet you one day as well. And then you can give me that tight hug that you want to give me. But thank you so much for coming to share your story with me today.
Yeah, have a good one.
Thank you. Bye. Well, that was Jennifer Montiel. And like you all heard now today, she has gone through so much in her life. And if she can do it, then you can do it. So I will be back next week with another incredible story. We have a lot of stories on Give Me Hope with Johanna that can touch your life in ways that you would never thought is possible. I will see you next week.
Thank you so much for being part of today's episode of Give Me Hope with Johanna. If this conversation encouraged you, strengthened your faith, or reminded you that you're not alone, hold on to that. Because no matter what you're facing right now, hope is not gone. It's growing. If this episode spoke to your heart, take a second to like, subscribe, and share. Because stories like this don't just inspire, they heal. And if someone you love needs encouragement, send this to them. One story can shift a life. Until next time, keep believing, keep rising, and never stop choosing hope. I'm Johanna Vendel, and this is Give Me Hope with Johanna.